Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mina, and today's video is going to be something that I don't normally do, but I figured I would film this for once. I am going to be doing a little March book haul. Now, I normally don't film book hauls because I don't tend to acquire a big amount of books at one time. I'll usually get maybe like 2-3 books a month, so I don't feel like it's necessary for me to show just like 2 or 3 books in one video. And a lot of times I am trying to read the books that I have already bought and haven't read before. So again, I don't like go crazy with my book buying, which is good. But for some reason this month I ended up getting a good amount of books. I think I have 8 here in total, so I thought why not just sit down and show you guys all of the books that I got this month, and I'll just give you like a brief little description about what each one is about. I've read I think 2 of the 8 that I have, and I am halfway through 2 of them as well. So let's just get started. So the first 3 books that I got, I actually have to thank my husband because he's the one who got them for me, so shout out to him. The first one is The Sanatorium by Sarah Pierce, and this is a book that I didn't even know about until I would say like a month ago. I saw a bunch of people on Bookstagram posting about this, and I thought that it sounded really interesting. This is a horror novel, and it is about this old sanatorium that was converted into a ski resort. And I believe the main character is staying at the ski resort for like a weekend. She's a detective, and she's staying at the ski resort for a weekend for her estranged brother's wedding. And I think a bunch of creepy things start happening. It's potentially supernatural, but I'm not 100% sure because I didn't read the blurb fully through. But I just thought it sounded so creepy and so interesting. I'm probably going to wait to read this one until next winter, which I know it's a long time away. But for some reason, I'm just like a very seasonal and mood type of reader, and now that the weather is getting warmer and it's going into spring, I don't really feel like reading a book that's set in a ski resort, so I'm probably going to save this for later on in the year, but if I do feel like picking it up sooner, I definitely will. The next 2 books that I have are Star Wars books, and these are both new releases from 2021. I have Star Wars Into the Dark and Star Wars Light of the Jedi. Both of these books take place within the High Republic era of the Star Wars universe, and this is the era that is pre the prequel films. So basically when the Jedi are at their highest like peak point and the Republic is in office, there's no real corrupt government system going on, and I just really love that time period. I love the time period of the prequels. I love learning about the Jedi, so I thought that these 2 books would be awesome to read since I'm really interested in that aspect of Star Wars. The first one, The Light of the Jedi, this is an adult book, like it's not young adult, and I did start reading this. I'm about 160 pages into this, but I put this book on pause for the book that I'm currently reading. I was interested in it, but for some reason I just was not in like a Star Wars mood at the moment. I was more into like a dark thriller type of mood, so that's why I paused this one. But I do want to come back to it and complete it. It was interesting. It follows some characters that we are not familiar with in the Star Wars universe, so that's kind of the reason why I think I was reading it a little bit more slowly than some other Star Wars books. But it's definitely interesting, and I do want to continue reading this one. The other one, Into the Dark, is also, like I said, in that same time period, but this is a young adult Star Wars novel, and it is written by Claudia Gray, who is one of my favorite authors because she wrote my favorite Star Wars book, which is Master and Apprentice. So I have really high expectations for this one, and I think it has like a similar premise. We're following a young Jedi Padawan, and I think we're just going through his training, the challenges, the conflicts. I don't know too much about either of these books. I kind of just wanted to go in blindly, so we shall see how this one goes. So the next 2 books that I got are both books that I did read this month. The first one was Later by Stephen King, and this is Stephen King's 2021 release. Again, I did not know that this book was going to happen or that it was in existence until I saw people on my Bookstagram posting about it a couple of weeks before it was released. So when I heard that, I was like, okay, I need to pick up the new Stephen King novel. This one is one of his hard case crime books, so it's more of like a detective type story rather than like true horror. It is marketed as horror because there are some supernatural elements in it. I won't go into too much detail because it is such a short book, but it is about a young boy who has these supernatural abilities where he can communicate and see ghosts or see people who have died. And he gets kind of roped into an investigation with a detective, and she uses him for his abilities to talk to some of the dead criminals or the dead victims, things like that. It's really fun and it's hilarious, I should also add. It's also like a really good coming of age type of novel because we follow the boy from his childhood up until his young adulthood, and I think that it really explores that theme of like growing up that Stephen King does so well. So I did really enjoy this one. Is it my favorite Stephen King novel of all time? Probably not. It's probably not even in my top 5. I think I actually preferred Joyland, which is one of his other hard case crime books, more than this one, but I definitely think this is still enjoyable. It's very light horror, so if you are somebody that is new to the horror genre or new to Stephen King in general, I definitely think that this is a good one to pick up as your first because it's very light, it's not very scary, there are some gruesome moments, but it's not too intense. So that's that. The other book that I got and read this month was In the Quick by Kate Hope Day, and I just want to say that this is probably one of my favorite covers of a book of all time. You guys know how much I love space things, so this is just my aesthetic. The light pink, the astronaut, the way that it's kind of like faded. Oh my god, it's just so beautiful. It reminds me a lot of the Martian cover, which is also one of my all-time favorite covers, but sadly, this book disappointed me a little bit. I did read it and it was one of my most anticipated reads of the year. It is about a woman who joins this space program that her uncle initiated, and before her uncle's death, there was a space mission that ended up going missing, and our main character is trying to find out what happened to that missing spacecraft and all of the people aboard that spacecraft. And she also becomes involved in a relationship that is very intense and that could potentially threaten her mission to find out what happened to the missing spacecraft. So the premise sounded so amazing to me. I absolutely, I was ready for this book, and unfortunately it kind of fell flat for me, so I was a little bit disappointed. I just felt like there wasn't enough space content in here, and the book focused a lot on the main character's childhood as opposed to when she actually became a part of the space program and went out into space. The last, I would say, 100 pages of this book were great. They were exciting. I wanted to read more of that, but I felt like the first 2/3 of the book were just not for me. I don't know. And I also felt like there wasn't enough science discussed in terms of space science. It was a lot of mechanical and engineering type of science, which is not really my area of interest. And I'm gonna compare this to The Martian because I feel like I have to. I compare every sci-fi book to The Martian because The Martian is fantastic, but in The Martian, you do get a lot of space, but there's also a lot of discussion of other type of sciences like botany and environmentalism and things like that. But for some reason, the discussion of those things were so much more interesting and handled a lot better than how the mechanical and engineering science was discussed in this book. I was just not interested in it for some reason. And random points, this author does not use quotation marks to denote where there's dialogue, and that really frustrated me as well. So my experience with this one was not very enjoyable, but I think there is an audience for this, just probably not me. If you like shows like The Queen's Gambit, where you're kind of exploring a young woman from her childhood into like her early adulthood and dealing with her troubled past and her passion for something and like really being passionate and obsessed with that thing, then I think you would probably enjoy this as well, but it just wasn't for me, sadly. The next book that I got was actually a book that was sent to me, which is awesome, and I do want to thank the author very much for sending me this copy. He reached out on my Bookstagram asking if I would be interested in reading a copy of his book and possibly doing a review on my Bookstagram. So I will get to this book. I haven't started it yet, but I read through the premise and thought that it sounded interesting, and it's also this author's debut novel, so I always like to support debut novels if it's a book that I would be interested in picking up on my own. I think it's so important to do so, because if I was writing a debut novel, I would want people to, you know, get the word out and support me, so definitely want to do that. And this is called The Way You See Me Now by Maury K. Downs. So thank you so much to Maury K. Downs for sending me a copy of this book. This is a YA, I think, and it's a first contact with aliens novel, which I have not read a bunch of, and I love reading and watching things about aliens. I think they are so creepy. So I'm excited to finally like read an alien sci-fi book. And I believe it's like from the perspective of the aliens who are invading Earth and possibly like taking on another form like of disguise. It says, aliens make a stealth landing on Earth late at night. They possess a unique capability never seen before. Their mission is compromised when a curious young man discovers their presence. The aliens confront him. Now their mission is no longer a secret. What do they do about being discovered? What will happen to the human? Will the aliens be hostile? Will they be able to complete their important mission? Only destiny knows. So it sounds super interesting. I'm excited to check this out. And please definitely check this out if you're interested in first contact with alien novels, because this is a debut and we always want to support new authors. Okay. The next book that I have is the book that I am currently in the middle of, and I'm also currently filming a reading vlog for, so I won't give too much of my thoughts here since you will see all of them in the upcoming reading vlog. And that is The Jigsaw Man by Nadine Matheson. This is also an author's debut novel, which is exciting, and I did not know that this book existed until, again, people on Bookstagram are awesome. They posted about this and I was like, I need to pick this up. So this is a detective police procedural type of thriller, and it follows a detective who is investigating a copycat serial killer's murders. And the copycat is copying the murders of an infamous, already convicted serial killer from the past known as the Jigsaw Man, who dismembered bodies and scattered them across almost like a jigsaw puzzle. So our detective is coming back from leave and she is returning to this case even though she had a very rough experience with the Jigsaw Man case. So she's kind of like really connected to that and is dealing with a lot of like post-traumatic stress from that and like returning now to her work. So far, spoiler, not really a spoiler for the book, but for my experience, I'm really enjoying this. I'm about halfway through with it and I can't wait to complete it and to show you guys my experience in the vlog. But this one is so good so far. It's dark, it's gritty, it reminds me a lot of Silence of the Lambs and Mindhunter, so if those are things that you enjoyed watching, I would definitely pick this one up. And the last book that I got this month was actually a blind buy. When I was picking up my copy of The Jigsaw Man, I saw that they had this book called The Lake by Natasha Preston out on a table, and it was like a Barnes & Noble club pick. And I was like, okay, what is this? This sounds interesting. It's a thriller, and it takes place in a summer camp, which is exactly my favorite type of thriller and horror setting. Never been to a summer camp before, but I just think it is the perfect creepy setting for a thriller or a horror. And it follows two women who are going back to their childhood summer camp, but this time as counselors. And there was a secret that they had when they were children that was kind of like buried and forgotten, but upon their return to the summer camp, it seems that their secret might be threatened to be exposed. And it sounds so good. There's like a tagline that says, "The lake never forgets." And you guys know, as I've said this before, I love a good thriller or horror that takes place near or around bodies of water. I just think so creepy. So I'm really excited to read this. I think I'm actually going to save this for like the summertime, as a summertime read, because it sounds perfect for summer. I'm dying to read it now, but I'm going to just wait because I think I will enjoy it so much more in the summer, but it sounds so good. So that was my last pickup of the month. And that is it. Those are all of the 8 books that I have acquired this month. Kind of a lot for me, which is exciting. I've only gotten through some of them, but I can't wait to read them all. And let me know if you saw anything that was interesting in my book haul. If there's any books that you've already read and enjoyed, let's discuss them below. And let me know what books you've recently gotten either in this month or since the beginning of the year. I always love to know what books people are buying and acquiring. It's just so interesting to know that stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I hope that everybody has a wonderful day today. Bye guys!